On Saturday morning, the Washington Post published a report that changed the entire conversation about this war. The Pentagon is preparing for weeks of ground operations inside Iran. Not airstrikes, not drone attacks, not cruise missiles fired from ships 200 miles offshore. Ground operations, American soldiers and Marines on Iranian soil. The plan involves raids on Kharg Island, a piece of land less than 9 square miles in size that handles 90% of Iran's oil exports. It involves special operations raids on coastal military sites near the Strait of Hormuz. And according to one source familiar with the planning, it may also involve a mission to locate and secure 440 kilograms of highly enriched uranium that disappeared after American and Israeli strikes last year. This is not theoretical. And this is not a contingency plan buried in a filing cabinet. The Pentagon has wargamed this. The Marines are already in the region. The 82nd Airborne is deploying. The amphibious assault ships are in position. The only thing missing is Trump's signature. And as of this morning, he has not given it. But the fact that we are even having this conversation tells you everything about where this war is heading. Stay until the end. Because the detail buried at the bottom of every report, the part that every military expert is privately most worried about, is not whether the United States can take Kharg Island. It is what happens the morning after they do. Let's start with what Kharg Island actually is, because most Americans have never heard of it. And by the end of this video, you will understand why it may be the most strategically important 9 square miles on the planet right now. Kharg is a coral island located about 15 miles off the coast of southwestern Iran in the northeastern Persian Gulf. It is roughly a third of the size of Manhattan. There is nothing glamorous about it. No tourist resorts, no historic monuments. Just pipelines, storage tanks, loading terminals, and Iranian military installations. But through those terminals and pipelines flows approximately 90% of Iran's crude oil exports. Every day that Kharg Island is operational, Iran earns money. Every day it is shut down or captured, Iran bleeds. The island has a storage capacity of approximately 31 million barrels of oil. It is, in every meaningful sense, Iran's financial lifeline. The United States already struck it on March 13th. Trump announced that strikes hit 90 targets on Kharg, naval mine storage facilities, missile storage bunkers, military installations. He said specifically that the United States had avoided hitting the oil infrastructure, and he framed that as a deliberate act of restraint. His exact words, "We avoided it for reasons of decency." That restraint is now under review, because here is the problem that the air campaign has not solved. Iran still controls Kharg. Iran is still, at least partially, using it. And more importantly, Iran is now fortifying it. CNN reported this week, citing multiple people familiar with U.S. intelligence, that Iran has been moving additional military personnel, air defense systems, and shoulder-fired missile launchers onto Kharg in recent weeks. They are laying traps, digging in, preparing for exactly the kind of amphibious assault that the Marines arriving in the region are trained to execute. One retired U.S. Admiral, James Stavridis, former NATO Supreme Allied Commander, said on CNN, "I would be very worried about this." An Israeli source with direct knowledge of American planning said, "There is concern that taking control of Kharg would lead to attacks by Iranian drones and shoulder-fired missiles, leading to the deaths of American troops." So why are they planning to do it anyway? The answer is leverage. Pure geopolitical leverage. A former senior defense official told the Washington Post directly, seizing Iranian territory could embarrass the Islamic Republic and provide valuable bargaining chips in future negotiations. Right now, Iran is in peace talks mediated by Pakistan. The foreign ministers of Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and Egypt are meeting this weekend to try to find an off-ramp. But Tehran has not yet agreed to the full package of American demands, particularly around the nuclear program. The threat of a ground operation on Kharg, or the actual execution of one, is designed to make Iran move faster. To convince the Islamic Republic's new leadership that the alternative to a deal is American troops physically standing on the island that keeps their economy alive. It is coercive leverage, and American military planners believe it can work. But here is where the picture gets complicated, because the planning documents leaked to the Washington Post do not describe just one possible ground operation. Well, they describe several, and some of them are dramatically more dangerous than others. The first scenario is Kharg Island itself, less than 9 square miles. 2 Marine Expeditionary Units already in the region. Several thousand Marines trained specifically for rapid response amphibious landings. Military experts say taking the island is technically feasible. The harder problem, as one official put it bluntly, is this: seizing it is not difficult. Protecting your guys once they are there is. The second scenario involves Kharg Island, a strategic outpost that helps Iran control the Strait of Hormuz itself. Kharg hosts Iranian bunkers, attack craft capable of destroying cargo ships, and radar systems that monitor all movement through the strait. Taking Kharg would be a direct move to reopen the strait and restore global oil flows. But Kharg is also deeper inside Iranian-controlled waters, which means the exposure for any landing force is significantly higher. The third scenario is the one that keeps the intelligence community up at night: a raid to locate and secure 440 kilograms of highly enriched uranium, material that was present in Iranian nuclear facilities before American and Israeli strikes last summer, and whose current location is not confirmed. This is not a simple commando raid. This is a potential nuclear material recovery operation inside a hostile country, against an adversary that now has every incentive in the world to use that material as a weapon or a bargaining chip before American forces can reach it. Military analysts have been direct about how difficult that third scenario is. One expert quoted by CNBC put it plainly: securing Iran's nuclear material would be the least realistic option with this force, as it would require a far larger, sustained ground presence. Now let's talk about what Iran is doing while all of this planning is happening. Because Tehran is not sitting still. Senior Iranian officials have already warned that any U.S. ground operation on Kharg Island would trigger immediate retaliation, not just against American forces on the island, but against the Gulf states that host American military bases: Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Qatar, Bahrain. All of them are within range of Iranian drones and ballistic missiles that have not yet been fully expended. Iran's ambassador to Zimbabwe, which is where Iran's diplomatic communications are now being routed since most Western countries have expelled Iranian diplomats, told TASS that Iran is prepared to expand its target list significantly if Kharg is touched, and the Gulf states themselves are privately lobbying Washington against the operation. A senior Gulf official told CNN this week that the concern among Gulf nations is that occupying Kharg Island with U.S. troops would result in high casualties and likely trigger Iranian retaliation against Gulf countries' infrastructure, prolonging the conflict in ways that damage the entire region, not just Iran. Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Qatar, these are American allies. They are hosting American forces. They are also sitting on oil infrastructure that Iran could strike in retaliation for a Kharg operation. They want Iran defanged. They do not want to be caught in the crossfire of an amphibious assault that turns the northern Persian Gulf into a combat zone. The Pentagon briefed Gulf countries this week and told them that a large portion of Iran's ballistic and cruise missile capability has already been destroyed. Gulf officials took some comfort in that, but they also know that even a degraded Iranian missile force can do enormous damage to the refineries and terminals on which their own economies depend. And then there is the American political dimension, which is where this war may ultimately be decided, not on the beaches of Kharg Island, but in committee rooms in Washington, D.C. A new AP poll published this week found that 62% of Americans strongly oppose the use of ground troops in Iran. Only 12% are in favor. Trump won his second term partly on a message of ending foreign military entanglements, not starting new ones. The comparison to Iraq in 2003 is already being made by lawmakers in both parties. Trump himself told reporters on March 20th, "I am not putting troops anywhere. If I were, I certainly would not tell you, but I am not putting troops." Secretary of State Marco Rubio said Friday that the United States can achieve all of its objectives without ground troops and expects the war to conclude in weeks, not months. But White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said something different. She said that if Tehran does not end its nuclear ambitions, Trump is prepared to unleash hell, and she confirmed that the Pentagon preparations are real, framing them as giving the commander-in-chief maximum optionality. Senator Lindsey Graham, one of Washington's most consistent hawks, went on Fox News last weekend and called for the Marines to seize Kharg Island. He compared it to Iwo Jima. He said, "We did Iwo Jima, we can do this." My money is always on the Marines. What Graham did not mention is that the Battle of Iwo Jima cost the United States nearly 7,000 dead and 19,000 wounded in 36 days. On an island in the Pacific against a force that had nowhere to go and no external support. Kharg Island is not Iwo Jima. It is smaller. Iran is not Imperial Japan, and the Marines of 2026 are better equipped than the Marines of 1945. But the underlying point stands. In the amphibious assaults against prepared defenses, against an enemy that knows you are coming, has been fortifying for weeks, and has drones and shoulder-fired missiles ready, are among the most dangerous operations in modern warfare. And Iran knows you are coming. They have known for weeks. CNN confirmed it. So here's where things actually stand as of today, March 29th, 2026. The Washington Post report was published yesterday. The Pentagon has not confirmed or denied the specifics. Trump has not approved any ground operation. Peace talks mediated by Pakistan are happening this weekend, and the Marines are in the water. The next 72 hours may determine whether this war stays in the air or becomes something America has not seen since Fallujah. The bottom line is this. The air campaign against Iran has achieved real military objectives. Iran's navy is gone. Its air force is largely destroyed. Its top leadership is dead. Its nuclear program has been set back significantly. By the metrics of air power, this operation has worked. But there is one thing air power cannot do. It cannot open the Strait of Hormuz. It cannot physically remove the weapons Iran has hidden in coastal caves and island bunkers. And it cannot recover enriched uranium buried in facilities that were bombed but not fully destroyed. That is why the Marines are there. That is why the 82nd Airborne is deploying. And that is why the most important decision of Trump's second term may be coming in the next few days. Not the decision to start the air war. That decision has already paid off militarily. The decision that comes next, whether to put American boots on Iranian soil, is the one that will define this presidency and this war. What happens in the next 72 hours in the Persian Gulf? What the Pakistan-mediated peace talks actually produce this weekend? And what it would look like if American Marines actually land on Kharg Island. That is what I am covering as it develops. If you found this valuable, subscribe to Alex PS Insights. Hit the notification bell. Because this story is moving fast and I am going to be covering every development as it happens. I will see you in the next one.